welcome back with a smiling face. The Luna in the Shadows. Synopsis. Austin Lance Vinci, the firstborn son of King Jeremy, was the attractive prince that everyone loved and adored. He possessed everything. Additionally, he led the Moon Pack, the most potent pack that has ever existed. When his ideal life unexpectedly collapsed, he was prepared to settle with his newfound companion. The sole option to rescue the kingdom, which was in severe financial distress, was to agree to the marriage proposal made by Princess Lucy Rosemary. Despite being the abused adopted daughter of the royal family, Princess Lucy Rosemary cherished her existence. However, her life takes an unexpected turn when she is unexpectedly compelled into an arranged marriage with the domineering and conceited Prince Austin Lance Vinci. In addition to all of that, she will soon learn about a whole new world that she was previously unaware of. Episode 1. Lucy's POV. What do you mean I'm getting married? I asked the Queen in utter dismay. She stared at her nails under the lights, acting the least bit interested in what I had to say. Did you really think my husband adopted you because he wanted another daughter? No, sweetie, you've always been a business investment. This was the plan all along. You're finally going to serve your purpose and repay us for giving you a roof over your head all of these years. I gasped at her cruel words. I always knew that almost everyone in the royal family disliked me, but I never once thought that they despised me to the extent that they were willing to sell me off like this. What are you saying? I asked, unable to hide the shock in my voice. I'm saying, first thing tomorrow morning you'll be in King Jeremy's castle, getting married to his son Prince Austin Lance Vinci. She explained with a wicked smile. What they do with you after is none of our concern. If I were you, I'd start praying, for I'm sure they're going to treat you much worse than us, considering you're so hard to love. I fought hard at the tears I felt threatening to fall. No. I wouldn't cry. For my entire life this family has mistreated me, to the point that I often tried to hide from them as much as I could. The less I was around them, the more I felt at peace. For these reasons, as well as many others, I should be happy that I was finally able to leave. Right? I could only hope that my new family would be nothing like my old. I knew nothing about them, so all I could possibly do for myself was pray that they would treat me better, at least a little. Austin's POV. Ariana's hands tangled in my hair as I jammed her up against the wall, my mate. My lips crashed down on her neck and she moaned my name in response. And just like before, I couldn't do it. I couldn't mark her. What was wrong with my wolf? Alpha, we have a problem. My eyes shut to Alex in annoyance. This better be good. I warned him. I can assure you that it is. I reluctantly dropped my hands from around my mate and followed Alex outside. We just had word from your parents, something that will affect you greatly. As you're already aware, our kingdom is in jeopardy, and in order to save it they've accepted a marriage proposal from Princess Lucy Rosemary. What? I roared. No. No way. They couldn't possibly think of doing this to me when they already knew that I'd found my mate. There was no way I would ever be able to accept anyone else other than her. Within minutes I was storming into my parents' room. I found them both discussing in a corner. I'm not getting married to that woman. I stated matter of fact before either one of them could say a single word. I needed to get it through to them that this wasn't something that was negotiable. My mother gave my father a look of helplessness before speaking. Son, I know this is very disturbing news, but you need to understand this is the only choice that we have. You need to take this decision for the people of our kingdom. You need to finally prove your worth to them. You know how much they love and adore you already. This is not about us but about them. I loved my people with all my heart, but I never thought that this day would ever come, a day where I would have to sacrifice my happiness. It was all too much to take in just in one day. A photo in my mother's hand caught my attention and I slowly reached for it. What's this? As my mother handed it over to me, she said. It's a picture of the princess. At the exact same time my eyes fell on the photo. I felt the anger within me slowly leave my body as I scanned the image. Long black hair framed a beautiful heart-shaped face, bright blue eyes that seemed to see straight through you, and sweet pink lips to die for. Who was this woman? Why did I feel a connection with just a photograph? After staring at the photo for what seemed like hours, I finally faced my parents. I'll marry this woman only for the sake of my people. However, as you know, I already have a mate. This woman can never have my heart. What is this story about you marrying this princess today? Ariana shouted at me before her eyes took in my suit. And you're actually going through with it? She asked in disbelief. Ariana, I'm so sorry, I never even knew of this arrangement until yesterday. I have to do this for my people. Please try and understand. This is just as hard for me as it is for you. Your people? That's all you ever think about. What about me? Your mate? Do I mean nothing to you? She demanded. Of course you matter to me. Look, I swear to you, if there is any way to get out of this marriage I will. If not, please know that she would never mean anything to me. I whispered. No one can take your place in my life. Make sure you make her life a living hell. I think it's already happening. I mean, she isn't even having a normal happy wedding which every woman deserves. Just a rushed private ceremony. I pointed out. You have nothing to worry about, I said, pulling her into my arms. Lucy's POV. I bit down on my nails nervously as the limousine pulled up to my new home. My nerves were all over the place. I could feel my heart thumping louder than drums, and it felt as though I was about to meet the man I was destined to be with. Wait, what? Where did that thought even come from? I was so nervous that even my thoughts were scaring me. Try not to embarrass the family like you're so used to doing. The Queen snapped at me as soon as we stepped out of the vehicle. I saw the king nod his head in agreement with her. Like always, they both saw me as a complete embarrassment to the family. I can't wait to see the ugly prince she's being forced to marry. My stepsister Ellie spat with an evil smile. It never failed to amaze me how low these people would stoop just to see me unhappy when I'd never done a single thing to any of them. I tried to ignore everything my family said after that. I had enough on my mind already. The nervousness in me only increased with each step I took closer to the beautiful castle. My stomach started to hurt, something that usually happened whenever I was nervous. I tried to ignore it at first, but the pain was becoming unbearable. I need to use the washroom, I told the Queen. She rolled her eyes at me. Don't expect me to carry you to find it, you can help yourself. I shouldn't have been surprised with her response. I turned away from my family and headed in the direction a maid had shown to me. My eyes took in the full beauty of the place. This castle was even more beautiful than the one back home. Everything here looked like it cost a fortune. From the window frames to the curtains, even down to the flooring. After a few minutes of trying to find a washroom, I was convinced I was lost until I heard voices. I followed the sound hoping they could help me find my way. I was close enough now to hear everything that they were saying. If there is any way to get out of this marriage I will. I heard the guy say. Any way to get out of this marriage? There was only one person getting married here today as far as I knew. Which only meant one thing. Was that the prince I'm supposed to be getting married to? I continued to listen to the conversation, my heart broke into tiny pieces with each word that came out both of their mouths. They suddenly stopped saying anything and I peeped around the corner to see why. What I saw next had me doubling over in shock. My soon-to-be husband had another woman in his arms in a full-on heated make-out session. The shocked gasp I suddenly heard forced me to break away from Ariana. My wolf demands that I do. And that's when I saw her. She hurtled into a corner, clutching her wedding dress tightly as if it were the only thing keeping her from running. My bride. Her beauty in person was nothing compared to the picture of her I had seen just yesterday. As much as I hated to admit it, she was the most beautiful woman I had ever laid my eyes on. Never had I seen someone look at me with such innocence and purity, and it freaking undid me in a way impossible to explain. But it was not her beauty or innocence that made my gut twist, the hurt and shock in her eyes. The protective instincts within me suddenly overpowered every other emotion raging through my body right now. The need to take away her pain was almost unbearable. My wolf was raging inside me, and it took all of my self-control not to let him loose. I'd never felt him fight to be free this much before. His behavior confused me. This is the hideous woman you're supposed to marry? Ariana asked, breaking the silence and bringing me back to reality. Princess Lucy's gaze went over to Ariana, and not a single word came out of her mouth. However, her beautiful lips parted, making me want to kiss it gently. Babe, I think your future wife is mute. Ariana continued with her insults. Her gaze returned to me again, the confusion there was suddenly replaced with fear. Was she scared of me? The thought of that made me sick to my stomach. Before anyone could say anything else, she spun and ran off. I paced again, fighting to control my raging wolf who wanted to run after my bride. The solid and unknown feelings caused me to hate the princess more than I already did. I didn't know anything about her, and already, she had my emotions all over the place. Lucy's POV, I ran and ran and ran. Not for the reason you may think. I was accustomed to being treated the way that woman spoke to me. What scared me was my immediate reaction to the prince. Something within me was pulling me towards him, and whether or not you chose to believe me, I could have sworn a voice within me said mate. I can't believe it, I was already going insane on my first day at this place. Hearing voices, feeling an immediate pull to someone I didn't know, feeling jealousy, what was happening to me? My heart was racing, and the stabbing pain of betrayal was eating at me raw. Seeing the prince wrapped his arms around another woman was enough to make me puke. I fell back against the wall, trying to keep myself together. Come on, Lucy, be strong, you don't even know the prince, so what if his arms wrapped around someone who wasn't you? You shouldn't care. I considered asking my family to cancel the wedding but knew that would end up in a huge uproar, with me collecting a slap to my face, most likely from the queen. Whether I liked it or not, I was stuck in this situation with Prince Austin. My eyes scanned my surroundings nervously. I didn't know anyone in the room besides my family. To the front of me, King Jeremy and his wife stood with welcoming smiles, along with another person I assumed had to be the prince's sister. And, of course, none other than Prince Austin was suitable beside me, but I dared not raise my eyes to look at him after my earlier reaction to him. His gaze was burning into my body, however, and against my better judgment, my traitorous body responded desperately. Traitor! There is no need for a full-on introduction, let's just get the wedding over with. The Queen announced. Wow, so happy to get rid of me, I see. I saw King Jeremy give his wife a quick, confused glance before responding. If that's what you wish, let's start the ceremony. The marriage officer motioned for Austin and me to stand facing each other, and the rings were brought forward. The vows were quickly spoken between us, almost rushed. Please accept this ring as a token of our marriage and a symbol of all we share. Austin reached for my hand, and the moment we touched, my body jerked alive, a small gasp escaping my mouth at the shock of the feelings stirring inside me. What on earth was that? My eyes snapped up to Austin, and our gazes locked. He seemed to be at war with himself as he quickly placed the ring on my finger and let go of my hands as though they had burnt him. Thankfully, the officer finished the vows without a mention of kissing the bride. I mean, even if he did, there would be none of that since Austin stormed off as soon as he declared us husband and wife. My family, of course, found his actions hilarious since any embarrassment on my part was like diamonds served on a tray to them. On the other hand, Austin's family seemed upset at his behavior and tried to reassure me that everything was okay. I didn't know how to react to their hospitality since all I've ever known was hate from everyone around me. Well, I guess this is it. Goodbye, Lucy. The king spoke up, the queen and my stepsister repeating his words. Don't you want to stay longer until she gets more comfortable? King Jeremy inquired. That won't be necessary. The queen cut in. We have more important matters to see about. My heart ached at their immediate dismissal of me. How could they let me go so quickly after years of having me by their side without a proper goodbye? They, indeed, were cold, heartless beings. So this is Austin's room and where you will stay. Princess Maya, Austin's sister, pointed out to me. I dragged my gaze from the beautiful princess to evaluate my surroundings. His room screamed masculinity, not a pinch of a woman's taste. Nevertheless, it was a beautifully crafted room with paintings on the wall and a huge bed in the middle. The massive stereo system next to the television caught my eye since I was never allowed the luxury of having one of those in my last home. Maya suddenly cleared her throat. About Austin's behavior earlier today, please don't take it too personally. This whole marriage came as a shock to him, and I believe he just needs a little time before he adjusts to married life. I hope you can give him that time. She pleaded. I brought my gaze back to her and gave her a slight nod. She suddenly cracked a huge smile. I've always wanted a sister. I'm happy I won't be the only girl around here from now on. I know we will get along just fine, and I want you to know that you can always come to me if you need someone to talk to. Thank you for being so nice to me, I replied honestly. It felt nice to meet people who were nice to me for once. I just wish it were under different circumstances. After a few hours of the princess giving me a tour of the entire palace, she finally left me alone in the room so I could get settled in by myself. I fell back against the bed, my senses suddenly on overdrive as I took in what was most definitely Austin's masculine scent. It was all over the bed. I turned and as if I had no control over my body whatsoever, took a sniff at the sheets, inhaling deeply. And, of course, that is precisely when Austin chose to come storming into the room. He paused as soon as he caught me in the act, his eyes zeroing in on my hands tugging at the sheets. His eyes flashed with something I couldn't read before he slowly shut the door behind him. His entire movement screamed menace as he walked over to the bed. Oh no! What was he going to do? Let's get something straight, there is only one woman in my life and there will always be only her. That being said, I can't sleep in the same bed with you. He hissed with so much hatred that I winced at the intensity. I blinked up at him, this was definitely not what I was expecting from him. Excuse me. Did he really just say what I think he just said? We barely knew each other and we were already married. Then why did he think I had to accept something like this? He narrowed his eyes at me. We aren't sleeping in the same bed together. Not that I want to be sleeping in the same bed with you. Lies. Okay, who said that? I ignored the inner voice and continued with my rant. But why did you agree to this marriage if you already had a woman in your life? I demanded. He could have saved us both from this horrible arrangement if he had just stopped this wedding and be with that awful woman. He gazed past me as he stared off into the distance. I don't owe you an explanation. What a jerk. We were now officially husband and wife and he didn't owe me an explanation. Where do you expect me to sleep then? I demanded. His eyes swept over my body once before clenching his jaw and looking away. I've already arranged for another bed to be sent to the room, it should be here before tonight. He informed me in a dry tone. Before I could respond, a knock on the door interrupted our unhappy conversation. Come in, Austin called, his face still set in an unhappy frown. Sire, the maid called, her cheeks red as she kept her gaze down. The king has asked for you and your bride's presence in his study. He said that it is urgent and you must come now. Austin glanced at me and without waiting for me to ask any questions, already started making his way out of the room. I had to hurriedly follow behind him so as to not get lost. What's all this about, mother? Austin inquired, taking in all of the arrangements taking place around him. Your father and I had a discussion and we've decided that it would be best if we hosted a welcoming party in Lucy's honor where we introduce her as your wife. Both Austin and I stiffened at this news. I was never one to be fond of parties, it always left me extremely uncomfortable. I hated to receive weird stares or listen to any of the gossips about me, like I'd often witnessed back home. I thought we agreed on not doing that. Austin demanded, his mood getting worse by each second that went by. I didn't think that was even possible. This had to happen eventually, Austin, it's better we get it over with tonight. Besides, Lucy deserves a proper welcoming. Now Lucy, we have already organized an entire new wardrobe for you. When you return to your room there will be a dress waiting for you on the bed, wear that tonight. Yes, your majesty. No, sweetie, you can call me Lisa. And you could call me Jeremy. The king announced with a warm smile. I returned their smile, thankful to at least be around a loving family for once, excluding the prince of course. Austin's POV, the pack would have to be more careful around the castle now that Lucy was here and had no clue about werewolves. I felt my hatred towards her grow once more. She just kept disrupting everyone's lives and she only just got here. Everyone's here, Alex reported. Good. I responded, turning to face everyone. This meeting is to discuss the arrival of Princess Lucy. She has absolutely no idea that we are werewolves or that they even exist for that matter. As such, no one is allowed to be around her in werewolf form. Everyone must go about the castle with caution from now on to ensure that she never finds out, I announced as the pack went up in an uproar. Why must we do this for a newcomer? Anthony demanded. He always opposed anything I said, so this wasn't anything new to me. Yet, everyone else agreed. Look, I assure you no one could be more upset about this than me, but we also can't forget that she is the only reason our kingdom was saved. This is not only for her but the safety of our pack. We can't have a human knowing about us, I reasoned. Alpha, we have a problem, Alex interrupted. What's wrong? I asked on alert. He never interrupted me unless it was a serious matter. We just got word that there is a rogue on the loose and he is getting closer to the castle as we speak. Why do I sense that there is more to this? I asked, studying his tensed posture. Alpha, he started. I think Princess Lucy is in the castle's gardens. My eyes snapped up to his at his words, my wolf suddenly becoming restless, and was that fear I sensed? My wolf had never been scared of anything in its entire life. What was happening? Before anyone could respond, I shifted into my wolf and raced towards the castle. I had to get to her now. Lucy's POV, the palace's garden was beautiful, much more than the one back home. I inhaled the scent of the gorgeous red roses in front of me and sighed. Something about being around plants always managed to help me feel at peace, and this time was no exception. My mind wandered back to Austin. Against my wishes he had disappeared from the castle yet again. Could he be with that woman? The thought of him with her made my heart ache in a way I've never felt before, which was absurd. I barely knew the prince. Why did it affect me so much already? I only just got here, and every time I didn't know where he went bothered me, and at times I caught myself hoping to catch a glimpse of him. Something inside me felt at home whenever he was near. I placed my hands on my chest, right above my heart, and pressed hard, hoping it would somehow help the pain I felt there. What was wrong with me? A loud howl came from the woods just outside the gardens, and I fell back against one of the trees in shock. What was that? Wait, did I just hear growling? Maya came running out along with two other guys I hadn't seen before. They rushed past me and out into the woods while Maya stayed behind. What's wrong? I asked, alarmed. Oh, it's nothing for you to be concerned about, sweetie, she assured me. My brothers just always like to take a run in the woods every evening. But is it safe? I just heard a howl, like from a wolf. Oh, I'm sure you misheard it, Lucy. There aren't any wolves on this side of the forest. Are you sure? I knew what I heard. Yes, now let's get you inside so we could get you into your dress and get you all dolled up for tonight. The reminder of tonight was enough to draw my attention away from what I just heard, at least for now. My eyes studied the dress in front of me, my cheeks suddenly inflamed. They wanted me to wear this? The material was a soft red velvet with a low cut at the chest area and a long slit at the bottom. The dress was extremely beautiful and I've never worn anything like it before. I quickly slipped into it. My makeup and hair was already done by one of the helpers. I studied my reflection in the mirror in shock. Who was I? Never before have I ever looked this beautiful and seductive. With a long sigh I stepped out the room and headed down the hall. I peeped around the wall to examine the crowd and immediately fell back. The entire room was full and I knew absolutely no one there but the royal family. I hated being around crowds. I always somehow managed to make a fool out of myself. After taking a few seconds, I finally convinced myself to step out from my hiding spot and into everyone's view. I felt many eyes on me and it took every ounce of my self-control not to run back into the room. A loud growl suddenly erupted from the crowds and my eyes widened as I realized who it came from. Austin! Did he just growl? I gripped my dress tightly as I saw him make his way up the stairs, his eyes shooting daggers. He moved almost as if someone else was in control of his body. His breathing was hard and he looked ready to pounce on someone. I took a deep gulp as he reached me in an instant. Before anyone could react, he gripped my waist tightly and pulled me in front of him, almost as if to hide my body from the crowd. I gasped at the shock of his touch, my skin burning where his hands rested on my body. Immediately I could feel an irresistible pull towards him, a pull I couldn't explain even if I wanted to. Mate! What was that? Why did I keep hearing that voice in my head? I wanted to scream at him to stop touching me so that all these feelings and the voice in my head would go away, but I knew that would only cause a scene. His eyes burned into my skin as we just stood there staring at each other. Another growl escaped his mouth as he picked me up bridal style and paced out the hall away from all prying eyes. He opened his room door and slammed it shut before throwing me onto the bed. "What are you wearing?" he demanded. "What?" I stammered. His eyes narrowed as they traveled up and down my body, taking every inch in. I felt my body tremble in response. "Do you like the attention of men so much that you would wear something like this?" My eyes widened. "You do not know a single thing about me to be accusing me of such utter nonsense. This dress was already picked out for me. I didn't choose it." "Austin, get out here!" The Queen's angry voice came from the doorway. "This discussion isn't over," he promised before leaving me to go talk to his mother. After a few minutes, Maya entered the room with sympathy in her eyes. "Are you okay?" I nodded my head. "I saw everything. Well, everyone saw everything. I have no idea what Austin was thinking or what came over him for that matter." "Does your brother usually growl like that?" I inquired, suddenly remembering his earlier actions. I felt like I was looking at a completely different person, if that makes any sense. Now that I thought about it, the growl sounded very familiar to the one I had heard coming from the woods earlier today. Did he just growl? I gripped my dress tightly as I saw him make his way up the stairs, his eyes shooting daggers. He moved almost as if someone else was in control of his body. Maya's eyes widened for a second before she quickly tried to hide her reaction from me. "Growl? I didn't hear any growling." "But can we continue this discussion later, Lucy? We have to give you a proper introduction to the people and it's getting a bit late." She cut me off. Was she deliberately trying to change the topic? This was the second time for the day she tried to change the topic. Something didn't seem right at all. I was beginning to think they were hiding something from me. I nodded my head in agreement and followed her outside where Austin was waiting, not looking too happy. Whatever discussion he had with his mother didn't help his mood, it seemed to make it worse. Put a smile on your face so my people don't suspect anything about the wedding, he warned. Don't worry, I'm used to forcing a smile when I'm unhappy. It was the truth. I often had to feign happiness in front of the people back home in order to hide being mistreated by the royal family. So this wasn't anything new to me. If anything, it only made me feel like I was back home. Austin turned to study me upon hearing my words, his eyes tracing my face as if trying to figure out what exactly I meant by it. Guys, Maya cut in. I really think we should do the introduction now. Austin reluctantly moved his gaze from me to look at his sister before nodding his head, and the three of us walked back into the hall where the king and queen waited with worried looks to their faces. The entire crowd got quiet at our entrance, everyone's gazes held a hint of curiosity, awe, and jealousy all in one. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you all may already know, tonight's main focus is to introduce Prince Austin's lovely wife Princess Lucy to our people. I know that everyone will welcome her and show her all the love and support you've always shown to us our entire lives. Anyone who'd like to get to know her better, please feel free to come introduce yourself to her personally, the king announced. It didn't take long for people to start surrounding me, throwing questions upon questions at me. I didn't mind since they were all kind for the most part. Austin's parents and sister stayed by my side the entire time. Austin, on the other hand, had disappeared yet again, something I was getting used to by now. What confused me was that no one seemed to mention Austin's behavior from earlier on. Did I really just imagine the growling in my head? I wouldn't be surprised considering the strange voice I had been hearing in my head ever since I arrived here. What confused me was that no one seemed to mention Austin's behavior from earlier on. Did I really just imagine the growling in my head? I wouldn't be surprised considering the strange voice I had been hearing in my head ever since I arrived here. It seems I need to make an appointment to meet my own sister-in-law, a voice whispered, catching my attention. My eyes snapped up to meet gorgeous blue eyes and a face strikingly similar to that of Austin's. I'm Lucas, Austin's brother. He introduced himself with a bright smile. I returned his smile. It's a pleasure to meet you, Prince Lucas. It's just Lucas to you, princess. He gently scolded me. I smiled. And it's just Lucy to you. Another nice member of the family. Was everyone in the family nice except for Austin? That's highly unfortunate for me, but I was used to all the bad luck by now. I was deep in my thoughts when I felt the presence of someone behind me. I slowly turned and was greeted by a middle-aged man. His eyes were studying me intently, searching my face as if he were seeing someone else, and for a minute I could have sworn his eyes narrowed. Who was this man? Something about him made me feel uneasy inside. Are you going to introduce me to the lovely princess? He asked the queen. Oh yes, Lucy dear, this is a very old friend of ours, Eric Brodwin. He has never hesitated to help us in the past, and we couldn't be more lucky to have someone like him in our lives. You're too modest, Lisa. When I heard from Ariana that Austin had gotten married, I was shocked but thrilled at the news. I felt the queen stiffen besides me at the mention of this Ariana. Ariana? Who was she? Ariana is my daughter, he added as if reading my mind. In fact, let me introduce you two so you can be good friends from now on. Ariana, he called. The person I saw next made me feel sick to my stomach. It was her. The one I had seen earlier with her arms wrapped around Austin. She had eyes the color of grass on its brownest days and short shoulder-length brunette hair that framed her face nicely. She was dressed in a high-neck short black dress with a slit that showed of her long legs. It pained me to admit it, but she was beautiful to say the least. She smiled at me with a knowing wicked glint in her eyes. "It's nice to finally meet you, Lucy." She greeted me pretending as though we hadn't met earlier when her hands were wrapped around my now husband. She held out her hand for a handshake and I warily accepted it. I forced myself to return her smile. "It's a pleasure to meet you as well, Ariana." I felt her hand grip mine tighter, so tight that I was sure it would leave a bruise by tomorrow. "So where is Austin?" Eric inquired, his eyes searching the room. "Oh, he was just outside with me a few minutes ago. I'll go call him father." Ariana answered, finally letting go of my hand. My entire body stiffened at her words. So that's where he was the entire night, I should have guessed. Those two have always shared an unbreakable bond. Eric commented, staring after his daughter. "Well, not always." Prince Lucas cut in. "A few years back Austin didn't so much as fancy Ariana, but something changed in him like a switch one day. It's pretty hard to explain. It's almost like if he went under a spell, one would say." Eric seemed disturbed by Lucas's words and quietly excused himself while the Queen left to make sure he was okay. "Thank you for that." Lucas grinned at me. "Anytime, Lucy. I know what it's like being a newcomer and having all the attention on you. Don't worry, I'll try my best to make this entire experience easier for you. I wish there was some way I could thank you for your sweet words." I responded, smiling brightly up at him. For once I actually felt like I had an older brother looking out for me, and it felt amazing. "A hug will suffice," he suggested with a cheeky grin. A low menacing growl came from behind us and I saw Austin glaring at Lucas. The look on his face was deadly, almost as if he wanted to attack his own brother. She had eyes the color of grass on its brownest days and short shoulder-length brunette hair that framed her face nicely. She was dressed in a high-neck short black dress with a slit that showed of her long legs. It pained me to admit it, but she was beautiful to say the least. This time there was no mistaking that it was a growl I had heard coming from him. Nothing was making sense to me. Never before had I heard anyone in my entire life growl like that, and believe me, I've been around a lot of people before. "Wow, there, brother. Just be grateful it was me asking her for a hug and not any of the men staring at her right now." "Austin!" Ariana almost shouted, trying to get his attention. She seemed shocked at his reaction to Lucas asking me for a hug. It did work, however. He seemed in control of himself once again as his glare was now focused on me. I gave him a perplexed look. What exactly did I do? His eyes moved from me to scan the room and a scowl formed on his face. I followed his gaze and noticed a few faces were looking in my direction, all mostly men. A muscle ticked in his jaw and it seemed as though he was fighting to control himself. "Where is my father?" Ariana asked. "I think I said something that upset him. You should go check on him." Lucas confessed with a smile. It was clear as day he didn't like her, and that confused me. Why would he prefer to be kind to me when it was her his brother preferred? Her eyes flashed. "What did you say?" "Ask him." "Lucas." Austin said his name in a warning tone, not pleased with his brother's behavior. Ariana rolled her eyes and linked her arms through Austin's. "Let's go find my father." My eyes rested on where their skin touched, and again, just like before, I heard the voice in my head. This time it all but screamed mine. It hurt like hell to see him so close to another woman, especially when the woman was her. I still didn't understand why it did, however. How could I already have feelings for someone I had just met? The emotions were already so strong, like if I had known Austin my entire life, and that was simply absurd since I'd never met the prince before. I was certain of it. He had the type of face one couldn't help but remember. Unable to see any more of it, I quietly excused myself and walked into the palace's garden, wanting to get some fresh air to clear my head, away from everyone and especially away from Austin and Ariana. For the first time since I reached here, I begun to miss home. Even though I was mistreated back there, I still knew almost everyone, and I didn't have to worry about a husband who didn't want anything to do with me. I felt like a complete stranger here. The only thing giving me courage was how nice Austin's family was to me. For the first time since I reached here, I begun to miss home. Even though I was mistreated back there, I still knew almost everyone, and I didn't have to worry about a husband who didn't want anything to do with me. I felt like a complete stranger here. The only thing giving me courage was how nice Austin's family was to me. I was experiencing a new kind of pain at this palace, and it was becoming almost unbearable. A sound from the woods suddenly caught my attention, and against my better judgment I inched closer to get a better view. Is anyone here? I walked a little further, my feet coming to an immediate stop when I heard a soft growl. My eyes widened as they settled upon a huge brown wolf. It looked angry or hungry, I wasn't sure at the moment. But either one wasn't a good sign for me. I slowly begun to move backwards, but that seemed to make it more angry as the ferocious growling only got much louder. My hands flew to my mouth to stop the scream that threatened to escape. I feared any noise would make the thing attack much faster. I looked around me frantically, hoping to find something that could possibly help me in this situation. I felt the sweat build up on my forehead as I listened to my own racing heartbeat while the wolf stealthily approached me. My heart dropped in defeat as I realized this might be it for me. There was no way I could survive an attack like this from something as huge and vicious as this wolf. The wolf snarled at me, preparing itself to attack. As its eyes focused on me, it launched forward and I let out a frightened cry. This was it. Suddenly, a loud howl rippled through the air. All the hairs on my body stood up at the power that radiated from the sound. Out of nowhere, a huge jet black wolf jumped in front of me and barreled into the other wolf. I watched in horror as they both tackled each other. What was happening? If I thought the other wolf was huge before, I was definitely wrong, for this one was even bigger. Much more magnificent. Almost beautiful. How could I think of something so dangerous as beautiful? That didn't make any sense to me. Then again, nothing made sense to me ever since I arrived at this place. I watched in fear as I saw the two step back and start to go around in circles, growling at each other. It wouldn't be long before one attacked the other again. Out of nowhere, two other wolves joined the fight. It seemed as though they were on the side of the black wolf as the three of them begun to corner the lone wolf. He started to slowly retreat, obviously realizing he was outnumbered, not that he could have won a fight against the black wolf. He eventually jumped over one of the wolves and ran off into the woods, the others chasing after him. The black one stayed behind as he slowly started to approach me. My eyes widened in shock. Was it about to attack as well? For some reason I wasn't scared of this one, which was insane. This one was so much more dangerous than the other in terms of strength. He watched me with alert eyes. almost as if he was scared I'd run off. It felt like he was trying to speak to me, trying to tell me that I was safe with him. It was official, I was going insane. He laid down beside my feet, resting his chin on his forelegs as he continued to watch me with careful eyes. I slowly crouched down beside him and even more slowly reached out with my hands to touch the fur on his back. It was surprisingly extremely soft. The wolf seemed to like it as he reached out and licked my neck. I laughed in shocked delight. "You like that, hey? Lucy?" I heard Maya's voice from a distance. The wolf immediately sprung up upon hearing her voice, and within seconds he was gone. He was fast. Austin's POV. I stormed into the pack's house, fighting hard to control the rage burning inside of media. Was sure everyone was already in a panic from the mind link I'd sent. They would all be able to feel the anger radiating through me from the link alone. "Alex!" I roared, the entire pack growing quiet. Alex immediately came to my side, his eyes full of worry. "What's wrong, Alpha?" I let out a low menacing growl. "As my beta, you are in charge of the safety of this pack and everyone connected to it, so what was a rogue doing in our territory?" I demanded. Alex gave me a look of shock. "I swear to you, Alpha, I didn't sense its presence. I don't understand how it happened without our knowledge." "It did happen," I shouted. "And the princess almost lost her life because of the carelessness of this pack, and you call yourselves the strongest pack ever known." "But we are." "Well, next time prove it." I turned to the oppressors of the pack, which entailed of Asher, Alexander, Adam, Anthony, Nick, Sialian, Ethan, Nathan and Xander. They were just as much to blame as Alex was. They all were looking at me expectantly, bracing themselves for my outburst. If something like this ever happens again, the punishment would be severe. I promise that to each one of you. Now, Lucas and James have captured the rogue. You know what must be done to him," I ordered. Xander nodded his head, his gaze dark. "He would be dealt with accordingly, Alpha." Xander was very good at what he did, the best tormentor this pack had. Sometimes it felt like he enjoyed his position as head tormentor a bit too much, but that's what made him good at his job. My wolf was still agitated and it made me uneasy as well. It seemed almost as though he wanted to be near Lucy after the attack and hated being away from her. The thought made me sick. The one he shouldn't want to stay away from should be Ariana, our mate. Not a spoiled princess who didn't even know the first step of defending herself. Lucy seemed weak, especially since she was human. I could already feel my wolf's disagreement to my thoughts, and it was strong as hell. He thought Lucy to be perfect and not weak in any way. I could feel and hear him growling aggressively in the back of my head, threatening me to change my thoughts on the matter. "You're just smitten because she touched your fur earlier on." He seemed to calm down at the reminder of the fur touching. I hated to admit it, but it did feel pretty good. What surprised me was how brave she was. Any other sane human would have ran off in the opposite direction. Not Lucy. She did the exact opposite when she reached out and touched my wolf. It sure as hell left me shocked for a good few minutes. I still haven't come to terms with it. I begun to wonder whether she would have touched another just as easily and carelessly. I felt anger slowly creep up at the thought of her touching another wolf, or another man for that matter. For once I could feel my wolf agreeing with me. He was pissed off as well at the thought. But as quickly as I thought it, I let it go. Lucy wasn't and would never be my main concern. Ariana was. Lucy's POV, "Are you feeling better?" Maya asked. We were in the family room, the king and queen with us as well, ensuring that I was okay. I was still a bit shaken up, but yet I kept looking at the door, hoping to see Austin walk in. Did they not tell him what happened, or did he just not care? The latter seemed more like the right answer. I meant nothing to him. I'm doing much better, thank you, Maya. I really don't know how this happened. We've never had an attack like this before. There shouldn't even be any wolves in this area. The king pointed out. The queen popped open a bottle of wine and took a seat next to us. I need a drink after tonight. Anyone else? Maya shook her head at her mother. This is my mother's solution to any problem, Lucy. You'll get used to it. I smiled, but before I could respond the door flew open and Austin stepped in. His presence as always made it hard to breathe. God, he was breathtaking. His eyes scanned the room until they rested on me. He looked me up and down slowly, almost as if he was checking my body for any injuries. I felt my body tremble in response. Oh, how I hated the way my body reacted to him. Without saying a single word, he turned around and stormed out the room. That was it. He wasn't even going to ask me if I was okay? Why did I even expect more? I saw everyone else in the room looking at me and I could tell they wanted to apologize for his behavior, yet again. I think I'll head to my room now. I'm really exhausted from all of the events of the day. Everyone nodded their heads in understanding. Before anyone could say another word, I quickly walked out and headed to my room. What I saw there made my feet come to an immediate halt. Austin was sprawled out on the bed, fast asleep. He was beautiful when he slept. Now that his eyes weren't open and watching me, I could study his features properly. He had tousled thick dark brown hair, a strand falling on his forehead gracefully. I wanted more than anything to reach over and touch it. His face was strong and defined with a sharp jawline. His skin slightly tanned to give the perfect complexion. My eyes moved to study his lips. They were a perfect deep red and I couldn't even control my own emotions as I moved closer to study them, wondering what it would feel like to have those lips on mine. I was so close to him now that I could hear and feel his hot breath on my skin, so close that his pure masculine scent was once again pulling me in, leaving me feeling as though I was intoxicated. I closed my eyes and inhaled deeply. God, that scent made me weak to my knees. I slowly opened my eyes and gasped in shock. His eyes were no longer closed but staring straight back at me. My lips parted at the blatant need I saw there, hot raw need deep in his eyes. My knees suddenly felt weak and I was grateful that they were pressed down onto the bed, preventing me from falling. Austin leaned even closer. I slowly placed my palms gently on his chest for balance. His breath hitched at the contact. He was all heavenly man beneath my fingers, his muscles hard and leaping at my touch. How I ached to run my hands all over them. I hated that there was clothing between us. Where were these thoughts coming from? He leaned forward, his breath fanning my neck, and without warning kissed the spot right beneath my ear. I moaned, my body feeling like it suddenly came alive for the first time since my existence. Austin immediately pulled away from me, seeming to wake from whatever trance he was in. He stared at me with hate in his eyes. Without a single word he rose up from the bed and stormed out the room. I fell back against the bed and fought the urge to let out a scream against the pillows. What on earth was wrong with me? My body was hot all over, writhing with a need and thirst I knew deep down that only Austin could quench. I hated this. I walked into the kitchen area the next morning. Everyone was already seated and having breakfast, everyone except Austin again. Did he not spend time with his family, or was it that he didn't like being around me? Good morning, Lucy. Austin's parents greeted me with a warm smile. How are you feeling this morning? Maya asked. She's glowing this morning if you ask me. It looks like Austin did his part as her husband last night. Lucas commented with a wink sent in my direction. I felt a blush creep up to my cheeks at his words. Maya rolled her eyes. Ignore him, Lucy. Everything that comes out his mouth somehow is always connected to X. The Queen coughed and glared at her children. Can't we ever have a meal like a normal family? Lucas raised his hands up in defense. I don't know what Maya is talking about, Mother. I was just pointing out that Austin took care of his wife last night, probably gave her a nice massage or something. It's Maya who mentioned the X. Enough. The king warned. Don't make this breakfast uncomfortable for Lucy. Maya took a sip of water before turning to me. Have James introduced himself to you as yet? James? I asked, confused. Maya shook her head in disappointment. That jackass, James is my next brother. I honestly thought he would have introduced himself to you by now. Don't take his actions personally, Lucy. He's not a very social person. He spends most of his time alone and doesn't let others into his life easily. The Queen informed me before taking a bite of her salad. Speaking of James, where is he this morning? Lucas inquired. The king stiffened at that question. We've gotten word of some unwanted guests around the village lately. Some villagers have reported seeing them to us. Austin and James left earlier this morning to see if it were true. And if it is true? Maya asked. The king shrugged. They'll warn them that they aren't allowed here, and if that doesn't work we would have to use different methods until they are gone. Those fools really left without me? Lucas demanded. Well, after you cause trouble anywhere you go, they were actually smart to leave you home. Maya teased. I pray for the poor soul that has to marry you one day. Lucas mumbled. While the siblings continued their bickering, my mind began to stray. Who were these unwanted guests? Were they dangerous? The king definitely seemed unhappy with the possibility of having them around the kingdom. Could Austin be in danger? That last thought made me uneasy and I couldn't stop myself from asking. Do these unwanted guests pose a threat to the kingdom? The king looked taken aback by my question. Not so much a threat, Lucy, but they are untrustworthy people. We had a close alliance with that family once, but they broke our trust, and since then they were banned from entering our kingdom. They've never tried to make contact before, so it may just be someone spreading rumors. They wouldn't dare step foot into our kingdom knowing what would follow if they did. Wait, are you speaking about the Fire Cross Pack? Maya inquired, her eyes widening by the warning look everyone gave her. Fire Cross Pack? I asked, completely lost. What exactly did that name mean? Oh, it means nothing, dear. That's just a name given to the family. The Queen explained. Families actually gave themselves names like that? But yes, Maya, it's actually that exact family that your father is speaking of. I can't believe they would show us so much more disrespect after everything they did to our family. Lucas shouted, and for the first time ever since I'd met him I saw this angry side to him. It was scary to say the least. Even though I hadn't spent much time with Lucas, he seemed like the fun, playful type. I never once thought to one day see this side to him, definitely not so soon. Stay calm, son. You're scaring Lucy." At the mention of my name, Lucas turned to study me, his face softening at my expression. "Sorry, Lucy, this is what happens when I don't have enough food for breakfast," he explained, placing an entire sandwich into his mouth as if to keep himself from saying another word. "What's all that commotion going on outside?" Maya asked. "Commotion? I wasn't hearing a single thing." Yet everyone immediately stood up from their seats, obviously listening to something I couldn't hear. What kind of ears did these people have? Whatever they heard had them storming out the door. I followed everyone outside the palace's gates and came to an immediate halt in shock at what I saw. 5 gorgeous men stood glaring at the guards, who were now on the ground, most likely put there by the men. All of them were clearly over 6 feet tall, and they all shared a strikingly similar face to the other. They were most definitely brothers. "What is the meaning of this?" the king demanded. The tallest one, who also seemed like the oldest, stepped forward. His eyes narrowed and he looked pissed as hell. "Where is Princess Lucy?" he asked in a low growl. My eyes widened in shock. Why was he asking for me? Austin's POV: do you really think that Alpha Richard would take the risk of crossing the borders? James asked as we continued to scan the village, looking for any signs of intruders. So far, there was nothing that looked suspicious. I shrugged. Richard never seemed like the type to fear war. However, the Fire Cross Pack have never stepped into our territory before, not after what happened years ago. I don't see why they would suddenly decide to show up to cause trouble. Nothing made sense to me. After all of these years, why now? What exactly could they possibly want from here? Maybe, and I think Father is thinking the same. They were waiting until their pack got strong enough to host another attack on us. They failed before, this time they may be more prepared. He responded while spinning a pocket knife in his hands. I paused and thought about that for a moment. Either way, everyone knows that my pack is the strongest. Yours comes in third in strength. With both of our packs combined, we're almost invincible. Only a fool would try to cross us. James seemed to ponder on that for a moment before changing the topic. Your wolf likes her, doesn't he? My steps slowed at his words. Who? I already had an idea of whom he was speaking about, but I wanted to confirm it before I responded. Lucy. I stopped walking altogether at her name. I had absolutely no idea why just the name alone affected me so much. My wolf was on high alert at the mention of her as well. He was suddenly interested in this conversation when he hadn't been before. I turned to face my brother. Why would you ask that? I didn't like his question. He made me think about things I'd rather bury inside. He threw the knife at one of the nearby trees, something that he often did when he was deep in thought. When we were younger and didn't have the strength of our wolves yet, Father would teach us to be good with our hands. Training with pocket knives was one of the many lessons taught to us back in the day. It was more of a statement than a question, brother. I don't understand why he's so smitten with her. It's driving me insane. I finally confessed before I could stop myself. It was driving me more than insane, after my reaction to Lucy yesterday, after the strong urge to claim her as my own. I didn't dare step back into that room. I couldn't even remember ever having such a strong need to claim Ariana before, and that thought had me uneasy. Was all he had to say. I pulled the knife out of the tree with ease, handing it back to him. It doesn't matter whether or not he likes her, it doesn't change the fact that Ariana is our mate, we could survive without Lucy, it's losing Ariana that would kill us both. As an alpha I have a duty towards my mate, she would always come first. Nothing could change my views on that. James nodded, he looked like he was about to say something before a dark expression crossed his face. What's wrong? I just got a mind link from Lucas, something's wrong. I informed him. He said to get home now. Lucy's POV, what does the fire cross want with Lucy? Lucas demanded. That's none of your business. The tallest one snapped. Just show us the girl. Another ordered before his eyes traveled to me. I saw immediate recognition in his eyes, all at once the rest of them turned to me as if he had somehow told his brothers he'd found me without speaking a single word to them. They all looked like they were holding their breaths, but why? Why did I feel like I'm supposed to know them? Who were they? Lucy. They whispered, each of them taking a step in my direction. Before any of them could reach me, however, a figure came right in front of me, blocking me from their view. I didn't need to look up to know who it was, my body's immediate reaction was enough to tell me who. Austin! Don't come near her! He warned in a deadly calm tone, the threat evident in his voice. Or what? The tallest one asked, taking a step further. I felt Austin stiffen beside me, his knuckles tightening into a fist at his side. Are you really ready to start a war with us? He asked stiffly. Does Richard know you are here? The king inquired. Do we need to contact him and let him know the trouble his sons are causing, knowing fully well none of you are welcome in our kingdom? They tensed at his words, answering the king's questions with their expressions alone. Their father didn't know they were here. This isn't over. The tallest warned. He seemed like the one in charge as the rest of them were following his orders, all except one who just stood glaring at Austin with hatred in his eyes. He better take good care of her. He shouted, the rest of them pulling on his shoulder as if to force him to leave with them. I was so confused. Why would he say for Austin to take care of me? Why did they care? I didn't understand anything that was happening, so many questions were swamping around my head, making me dizzy. From the little I knew, they were supposed to be the bad guys, so why did I feel like they were good people? When they were all out of sight, everyone around me seemed to relax a little. This isn't right, we're missing something. The Queen muttered. It doesn't matter if we're missing anything, they crossed the borders, they broke the rules for peace between our families. If they want war they would get it. Austin promised, his gaze dark. We have to set up a meeting, put things in place in case they come back. I felt Maya's hands on my shoulders. We're so sorry you have to go through so much already, Lucy. Austin turned to study me at Maya's words, his eyes narrowed as if he was thinking of something. Without another word he stormed into the house and everyone except Maya followed after him. Do you know those men? Maya asked. I shook my head. It's the first time that I've ever seen them, but I don't know why. I feel like I should know them, it feels weird. I answered honestly. My mother is right, something is definitely wrong. We're missing something. She noted while deep in thought. Austin was glaring at me and I couldn't comprehend why. I had only just entered the room from spending the day with Maya. He was already waiting inside when I got in. His penetrating gaze seemed to see straight through me and I suddenly felt like covering my body with a blanket. Anything to stop him from looking at me like that. How do you know them? I stared at him blankly. I don't know them. Don't lie to me, Lucy. He snapped. Those men clearly knew you, so who are they to you? I told you I don't know them. I pressed. I also don't appreciate the tone you're using with me when I've done absolutely nothing wrong. Did you have an affair with one of them? He accused. My eyes widened. You know nothing of me to be accusing me of things like this, and even if I did, what does that have to do with you? Only one woman matters to you. What I do or don't do is absolutely nothing of your concern. That seemed to piss him off further. He appeared beside me in an instant, his hand gripping my waist tightly and pulling me back against him. You are mine, we're legally bonded, Lucy, by right you are mine. He growled into my ear, the hairs on the back of my neck standing up at his words. He spun me around so that I was now facing him, his eyes were dark and deadly, staring into mine. Mine! He roared before crashing his lips to mine. My body felt like it had just been struck by lightning, my senses on overdrive. I couldn't think, couldn't breathe with Austin's mouth on mine. Couldn't even remember what we were just talking about. His scent and touch was consuming my mind and body, making me all weak and needy inside. I felt like I wasn't getting enough of him, felt like I would die if I didn't get closer to him. My entire body feeling like it was going up in flames. Surely this wasn't normal, right? He pulled my bottom lip into his mouth and sucked gently. Austin groaned. So sweet. My knees went weak instantly, my hands wrapping around his neck to keep from falling to the ground. Austin gently lowered me to the bed behind us, his body pressing into mine, and that's when I felt it, his hardness pressed between my legs. I gasped at the contact and he used that opportunity to thrust his tongue into my mouth. My body began to shake and knead beneath him and a helpless moan escaped my mouth. Austin pulled away from me immediately as a string of curses left his mouth, and just like before he jerked the door open and stormed outside, disappearing for the rest of the night. Austin's POV, you're not going to like this. Ethan reported, placing some documents in front of me. I studied the papers in front of me. One name stood out more than anything, the Black Council. The Council. Every single person in the supernatural world knew of them. They were a large group of vampires, werewolves, wights, and shapeshifters. They stood together and killed anyone and anything that prevented them from getting what they wanted. You're taught from small to never cross them. If possible, try your best to avoid having any dealings with them. They got their strength from feeding off the weak, usually in the case of werewolves. If their pack wasn't strong enough, they would offer their services to the council to be given protection in return. As long as you joined them, you couldn't get out. I've heard of cases where entire packs were executed when they no longer wanted to be part of the council. What does the council have to do with the Fire Cross pack? I asked. I did some digging up like you asked me to. The Fire Cross joined the council, they are now their allies, have been for over 10 years now. I'm sure you know what this means, Alpha. Asher cut in. If they really want Princess Lucy, there is a very good chance they could take her from here. I growled, my fist connecting with the table in front of me, breaking it in half. What did you say? I roared. Take her away from me? I demanded, glaring at Asher. Asher looked shocked at my outburst. I'm sorry, Alpha. I was just stating facts. We are indeed the strongest pack, but the council is dangerous. They fight dirty and they have way more members and connections than we do. If it is that they want Lucy, the safest thing would be to hand her over. If we retaliate and fight back, it will be the greatest loss this pack have ever seen. My wolf was furious at Asher's words. He wanted to rip the man in half for even speaking such words, but the man in me knew he was right. I couldn't fight Asher for speaking the truth. It was his job. He worked with the facts and numbers. He was just informing me of the outcome. This whole situation just took a whole completely new direction, a completely dangerous one, so dangerous that if the fire cross came back for Lucy, I may have to choose between my pack's survival and her. But why did that make my insides twist? Shouldn't I want this to happen? If they came for Lucy, then I could live happily with Ariana. All my troubles would go away. So why did it make me feel empty inside, and why did it feel like I would fight till my death to keep her? Hermanos POV, where the Black Council resides. My boots hit against the glass floors loudly, my brothers following my quick steps. We were heading back to the council, to meet our father who had called for us. Do you think father suspects anything? Nolan asked. He's been suspicious of us for a while now, Nolan. We've all went missing for days. It's only natural that he would suspect we were up to something he didn't approve of. But we were careful. Thane cut in. He knew the council sent us on a private mission. We could still pull this off. Dad isn't stupid. Marcus commented. We've never taken days to complete a mission, no matter how dangerous. Marcus had a point. We've been on countless missions before, slaying the most dangerous of kinds, killing mercilessly, and we've never once taken days to complete it. Guys! Lutheus whispered. I think it's safe to say he knows. He said, staring straight ahead. I followed his gaze and froze. Yet, Father Newlighted stood a few feet away from us. A furious expression masked his face. There was only one topic we disagreed on, so there was no doubt he knew who we went to see. Where did you go? He asked in the scariest tone ever used on us before. When every one of us refused to answer, his eyes narrowed. I asked you, where did you go? I felt Lutheus flinch besides me, not used to this side of father. We went on. Do not even bother lying to me. Speak the truth now. I'm only giving you one chance to do so. He warned. Father. I started. We went to see Lucy. I confessed. There was no use lying to him. He already knew. He was just waiting for the confirmation from us. He shook his head at us, not saying a single word. His silence seemed more deadly than his outburst, and I could sense my brother's discomfort increase by each second that went by. We've had this discussion before. On countless occasions I've pleaded with you boys to leave this matter alone. Why would you disobey a direct order from me? He demanded. We wanted to see her father. I stated the obvious. His eyes flashed dangerously at me. I told you when the time is right you would all meet her. And when is that? Thane demanded. She's been separated from us for over 17 years now. She's everything we thought she would be and more. I shouted. Aren't you even the least bit interested? Father remained quiet at that. She deserves to know, Father. I added quietly. It was the truth. Lucy has been living in the dark for years. she deserved to know the truth, and my brothers and I were determined to give it to her if it was the last thing we did. I kept looking at the floor, embarrassed to look at Austin after what happened between us last night. Surprisingly, he had stayed for breakfast this morning, and I couldn't help but wonder if it was because of the incident that had occurred yesterday. We were all seated around the dining table. For once the entire family was here, even James, the brother who had yet to introduce himself to me, was seated comfortably opposite me. Austin, the king started. Your mother and I have been talking, and we think that it's a good idea for you to take Lucy with you to the village, so that the people could get to know her a bit more. Why must I do that? He questioned his father, clearly unhappy to be spending any alone time with me. Austin, his mother cut in with a warning tone. I didn't want to stay and hear the rest of the conversation, so I quietly excused myself and made my way to the washroom. Halfway there I felt the presence of someone behind me. Stopped walking altogether and spun around to come face to face with Austin. He took a step closer, his deep ocean blue eyes pulling me in. I'm not finished with our discussion from yesterday. Sigh. This again? Another slow step brought him within arm's reach. Whenever he was this near, it became almost impossible for me to think clearly. Especially when his warm gaze poured over me, making me weak. Those eyes had the power to bring me to my knees, and I hated the feeling, hated the weakness. I needed to be stronger. God, but I would be lying if I said that warm gaze didn't do amazing things to my body, making me all warm and fuzzy inside, melting my insides, devouring me whole. I forced my gaze to move from those hypnotizing eyes and focused on his broad chest instead, but even that didn't help, as even his masculine chest left me wanting more, wanting to run my hands and tongue all over. Lucy. I snapped my gaze back up to his eyes and regretted it instantly. There was that raw dark need deep in his eyes again. We leave at noon. His voice was a soft husky whisper, and I clamped my legs together to keep from falling. Without another word, Austin turned and left me to suffer in my own uncontrollable need for him. I silently fell back against the wall and covered my face with my hands. When would this torture end? Austin's POV. I can't stay long. I told an already pissed of Ariana. Why not? She asked. Father asked me to take Lucy to meet some of the villagers and have a tour of the village. I answered honestly. Her eyes narrowed immediately, and I could feel the tension in the air. You're telling me you're leaving me to go spend time with that? I felt my wolf stir angrily at her words. Usually when I was around Ariana, he would disappear completely from the conversation, almost as if he liked going into hiding as soon as she entered the picture, which never made any sense to me. I always thought the reason for his disappearance whenever she was near was due to the fact that my feelings for her were so strong because of the mating bond that it scared him, but now I wasn't so sure because for some reason he was always around once Lucy was concerned. Now, was the first time he'd ever been present in a conversation with Ariana, and it was only because he was pissed at Ariana's words about Lucy. Ariana, I don't want to hear anything. She screamed. Ever since you married her, you haven't given me much attention. You promised me this wouldn't happen. I'm your mate, Austin, do you not remember? I hated seeing her like this. She was right. She was my mate, and I needed to prove to her that she was still the most important woman in my life. Let me just take Lucy this once. After that I promise to spend all of my time with you. She shook her head. No. No. I want you here with me now, Let someone else take that to meet the villagers, why do you have to be the one to take her? I'm sure you can find someone else, any replacement would do, it's not like she's that important. She snapped. Even her own family didn't want her. My eyes snapped up to meet Ariana's at her words. Lucy's family didn't want her? What do you mean by that? I couldn't explain why, but for some reason this news gave me discomfort. I needed to know more. She crossed her legs and leaned back on the rocking chair. You didn't know? She asked with a quirked brow. Father did some digging up. Lucy is the adopted daughter of the royal family. She was left on their doorsteps with nothing but a note with her name on it and some money meant for whoever decided to keep her. Even the royal family didn't want her, they just kept her around so that they could use her marriage to strengthen their kingdom since they didn't want that to happen to their actual daughter. Even though they adopted her, they treated her as though she were a maid. I lifted my face to glare at Ariana. The anger I felt was like a raging bull inside of me, desperate to escape. I hated that Lucy was mistreated to that extent. I didn't like the girl, but no one deserved such treatment. I wanted to rip apart the entire royal family, wanted to kill them all with a raging passion. Why are you looking at me like that? She asked, bringing me out of my dark thoughts. I hadn't even realized that I defocused all my anger towards Ariana. My hands curled into fists at my sides, fighting the urge to actually fulfill the recent dark desires that had entered my mind. Instead, I tried to focus on my maid in front of me. What made your father look into Lucy's background? I asked suspiciously. Ariana looked taken aback by my question, and was that fear I sensed? With her cheeks flushed, she waved her hands at me dismissively. It's nothing to be bothered about really, he was just curious as to who you'd been married to. You know, father has always considered you as his own, he just wanted to make sure Lucy came from a good background. Did he find out who's her actual fame? Enough talking. Ariana cut me off, rising up from the chair and wrapping her arms around me. I've missed you, she whispered, reaching up to press her lips to mine. Lucy's POV, where is Austin? I asked the blonde-haired man in front of me. I'm sorry, Princess, Austin got caught up in some other business and asked me to take you instead. I tried to hide the disappointment. I hated to admit it, but I was actually looking forward to spending some time with Austin. I knew it was pathetic to feel that way considering the way he's treated me since my arrival, but it wasn't a feeling I could control. He cleared his throat as if sensing my discomfort at the news. My name is Adam, one of this family's most trusted bodyguards. I'll take you to the village and bring you back safely. You have nothing to fear. I nodded and forced a smile on my face. Thank you, Adam. He opened the limo's door for me and got in beside me, informing the driver that we were ready. The drive to the village was quiet. Adam hadn't spoken another word to me. His eyes were always focused out the window. He seemed like he was on high alert, and I couldn't tell whether he was just doing his job or if he sensed that we were in danger. The car suddenly came to an abrupt halt. Adam's hand shot out to grab my shoulders, preventing me from hitting my face against the glass that separated us from the driver. Why did you stop? Adam demanded. There are 3 men in the middle of the road, Sir Adam, and they aren't moving. He answered. Adam stiffened at his words, his hands gripping the handle of the door. Whatever you do, do not step out of the vehicle unless I tell you to. He warned. Lock the doors. I silently prayed in the back seat, please just let this be a false alarm. My heart rate picked up as I heard shouting outside. Surely this wasn't a friendly conversation. Suddenly a figure appeared right next to me. His hands reached out and to my horror punched the glass windows. I screamed and covered my face as the glass shattered into a million tiny pieces. He unlocked the door and opened it, grabbing a handful of my hair. He forced me out the vehicle and threw me on the ground next to a bleeding Adam and an unconscious driver. "Look what we got here!" The man chuckled. My eyes squinted as I tried to focus on the three men staring at us, each of them looking amused. The one who had grabbed me by my hair focused his gaze on Adam. "You're trying really hard not to shift, is it because she's human?" he inquired with a knowing glint in his eyes. I felt Adam stiffen beside me, a low growl escaping his mouth. "Human? Wasn't everyone here humans? You don't want to do this?" Adam threatened. "If any harm comes to the girl, Austin will have your heads, literally." The three men looked at each other and burst out laughing. "Austin? Care for a human? The mighty Alpha?" they asked between laughs. "From what we've gathered, she means absolutely nothing to him. In fact, he might even thank us for getting rid of her." I felt my heart break at their words. It hurt more than any physical pain they could have inflicted upon me. Adam took a quick glance at me before turning to glare at the men. "You know nothing," he spat. "It seems like the one who knows nothing is the little one besides you. We can help with that, shine some light into the situation," they offered. What were these psychos speaking about? Whatever they were referring to clearly didn't sit well with Adam as he swiftly rose up and grabbed two of the men by their necks. "Oh, you shouldn't have done that." The one who wasn't locked in a neck hold by Adam spoke up. Before anyone else could react, a loud howl escaped his lips, and right before my eyes the man shifted into a huge dark brown wolf. What just happened? Austin's POV. I couldn't understand why I felt so uneasy. My mind constantly kept going straight back to Lucy, something telling me that I should get to her immediately. I'd left Adam in charge of her. He was the best in the pack when it came to protecting alongside his brother Alexander. He often gave his life for me and other members of the pack, and I expected that same loyalty towards Lucy. I knew he could be trusted, but yet I couldn't stop the constant nagging of my wolf. It was as though he sensed she was in danger. Something was pulling me towards her. It wanted me next to her desperately. I still couldn't make sense of these unwanted thoughts and feelings towards Lucy. I had my mate in my arms, and yet all I could do was think about her. She was slowly consuming my body and mind. Impatience and annoyance began pumping through my veins as I realized bitterly that I didn't want to be here with Ariana. Not only my wolf this time, but I as well preferred to be next to Lucy. What was wrong with me? My hands clenched at my sides as my head throbbed with this new information buzzing within me. A string of curses threatened to escape my mouth as the restlessness within me only increased with each second that ticked by. Lucy was becoming a drug to me, a dangerously unhealthy one that threatened my peace of mind, threatened my existence. Alpha. Pause. Lucy, she's in danger. Fear quickly engulfed me, swallowing me whole. My heart hammered loudly against my chest as my brains tried to catch up with the emotions attacking me all at once at the mind link I'd just received from Adam. I shot off the bed so fast that Ariana fell off the sheets in a loud thump. She got up glaring at me. "What is wrong with you?" My head pounded as my gaze swept over Ariana without actually seeing her. All I could hear was Adam's words repeating in my head, over and over. I struggled to stay focused as I tried to trace their location from the mind link, clinging to the connection, desperate to find her. I don't have time for explanations, I have to go now. I answered her frantically. You promised to spend the day with me. She reminded me, crossing her arms in front her chest. I'm sorry. I apologized hoarsely, rushing out the door without a second thought. Austin! I heard her scream behind me but ignored her calls. Lucy was in danger, that was the only thing on my mind. I had to get to her, had to bring her to safety before I went insane. Lucy's POV, my body was shaking uncontrollably. I was finding it difficult to wrap my mind around what was happening in front of my very eyes. A man just shifted into a wolf? Was it possible that this was all just a nightmare? As if on cue, the other two men shifted into wolves as well. All three wolves were different shades of brown, every single one of them just as big as the other. Oh God! I whimpered, fear consuming me whole, the three wolves growling at me aggressively as each of them took a step closer in my direction. Adam stepped back, blocking me from their view. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, Princess. Not long after he said those words to me, Adam shifted into a great grey wolf. He was bigger than each of the three but unfortunately still outnumbered. They growled at each other, the grey wolf keeping his position to the front of me, protecting me from the others. I watched in horror as the three of them attacked him at the same exact time. He yelped in pain as one of the brown ones bit into his legs, blood splattering onto the ground. I felt completely helpless. I didn't know how to help the grey wolf or Adam, or was it both of them as one? I had absolutely no idea. I looked around me frantically, searching for some sort of object that could possibly help him. My eyes rested on a pocket knife inside the unconscious driver's jacket. I reached down cautiously, not taking my eyes off the scene in front of me, and pulled it out. Taking deep breaths, I forced myself to calm my racing heart. If I wanted to save the grey wolf, who was no doubt fighting to protect me, I needed to be thinking clearly. I swallowed down my panic and tried to focus on the scene in front of me. The brown ones were no doubt winning the fight, which was expected since it was 3 against 1. I needed to choose one of them and attack with all the strength I had. It would at least help to have one less wolf attacking the grey one, assuming I was successful in the attack. I zeroed in on the one to the left. He was closest to me, with its back turned so he wouldn't see me coming from behind. Not giving myself time to back out, I got up on my feet and jumped onto the wolf, grabbing onto his fur and stabbing the knife into its side. The wolf howled in pain, trying to shake me off. I held on tighter and dug the knife even deeper, promising myself not to let go until he released the grey wolf from his deadly grip. Another brown wolf grabbed onto my hair with its teeth and flung me to the side, my forehead hitting against a tree. I winced and cried out in pain, feeling the blood trickle down my face. A loud howl rippled through the air, shaking all the trees around us with its power. I knew that howl. Knew that power. My eyes snapped up just in time to see a jet black wolf dip from the sky as he crashed into the fight in his full elaborate beauty. He was no doubt the same wolf that had saved me last time, looking pissed as hell. He didn't waste any time as his teeth grabbed onto the neck of the wolf that had flung me a few seconds ago. With one hard pull he ripped the head off the body. I screamed in horror as blood splattered all around us, tainting the ground and trees. He let out another powerful howl as he jumped onto another. I recognized this one as the one I had stabbed a moment ago. The black wolf grabbed onto the open wound I had left with its teeth, the brown wolf crying out in pain. I watched as he aggressively ripped him apart, not stopping until the wolf was in pieces. The remaining brown wolf whimpered and backed up in fear. I covered my eyes as I heard his helpless cries, the scene in front of me all too brutal for me to take in. When all the noises had stopped, I forced my eyes open. The black wolf stood a few feet away from me, panting hard next to the badly injured grey one with blood dripping from his mouth. He was watching me with those alert eyes again. He took a step towards me and I pushed back against the tree in fear, a small whimper escaping my lips. He stopped, as if sensing my fear, and from the look that he gave me, he didn't like it one bit. He stood there for a moment just staring at me as if having a battle within himself, and right before my eyes he shifted into a man. Not just any man. Austin. Bruised, covered in blood, and he stood in all his glory in front of me. What a magnificent man he was, a unique masterpiece before my eyes. My knees shook, and that was the last thing I remembered before I blacked out. Austin's POV, the scene in front of me was a mess, every single one of the wolves who'd attacked Lucy dead. My wolf was full of rage. I couldn't stop him even if I wanted to, not that I did. As soon as we'd witnessed her being thrown into the air, we had both snapped, and so my wolf didn't stop until they were all brutally killed, their bodies in pieces before our eyes. And still it didn't feel like enough. I wanted to put them back together only to rip them into shreds again. And repeat. They'd hurt her, hurt Lucy. Their death was too easy for the pain they'd inflicted upon her. In one swift motion I placed on the shorts I'd dropped nearby and hurried to her side. She was lying motionless on the ground, her hair covered her face, and I gently reached over and pushed it back. There was blood all over her face. I felt the anger resurface at the sight of her and resisted the urge to howl in frustration. I gently picked her up into my arms, holding her close to my chest. "I'm sorry, Alpha." Adam apologized, bowing his head in shame. I couldn't protect her. While I wanted to be angry at Adam and blame him for not protecting Lucy, I knew I couldn't. Besides the fact that he was outnumbered, the truth remained that I was the one to be blamed. If I hadn't stayed back with Ariana, none of this would have happened. My wolf huffed in agreement. He blamed me for what happened and was just as pissed at me as I was with myself. My eyes swept over Adam now, assessing his injuries now that Lucy was safely tucked away in my arms. He was bleeding from head to toe, badly injured with bite marks all over his body. Looking over him now, I could see that he was struggling to stand. He had fought, risking his life for her. That was all that mattered. "You tried your best, Adam. Let's get her back to the pack house. We need to get this blood off her and ensure she isn't seriously injured," I commanded. Adam would heal at an abnormal rate. Lucy was human, so she wouldn't. As I stepped into the pack house, a few surprised gazes flew my way. "What is the human doing here?" Andrew demanded, taking a step in front of me as if to block my entrance, his tone disapproving. My gaze darkened. This was not the time for him to be testing my patience. Before a growl could escape my lips, Adam stepped in front of us. I was grateful that he did, since I was more than ready to rip apart my own pack member with the burning rage inside me. "The human, as you call her," Adam snapped, "is our princess, and she risked her life today to save mine. She could have left me there to fight off the 3 wolves that were attacking me, but instead she bravely latched onto one of them and stabbed him, not letting go until she was forced to and thrown in the air by another. She got hurt while trying to protect my wolf. If anyone has a problem with her being here, they'll have to go through me." My chest swelled with pride at his words. Lucy fought to protect one of my own, risking her own life knowing she was no match for a wolf. I cradled her closer to my chest as I watched the amazed gazes of my pack members who had assembled around us at Adam's words. They all studied her in my arms and I could feel each of their respect for her grow. Adam was well loved by the entire pack. He had saved many of the members on countless occasions, so the fact that Lucy risked her own life to save him without barely knowing him was a big deal. In other words, the majority of the pack would now treat her like their own. Nick! I called. Ensaelian, the roads are a mess from the fight. You need to get rid of the bodies and blood before any humans get on the site. Nick gave a quick nod while Saelian spoke. We'll take care of it, Alpha. What happened to her? My mother's panic-stricken voice came from the doorway. I spun around with Lucy in my arms. My entire family stood at the doorway with worried looks on each of their faces. Who did this to her? Lucas demanded, taking a step closer. I growled possessively when he reached over to touch the bruise on her forehead. He immediately pulled back his hand and shook his head at me. I'm just worried about her. You could worry without touching her. I snapped. My blood was boiling and everyone was testing my patience. Boys. My father cut in sternly. How did this happen on your watch? James asked curiously. My brother knew fully well how strong my wolf was, so I completely understood why he asked such a question. I just wished he didn't choose now to ask it. I swallowed the guilt. I ordered Adam to take her to the village, and on their way they were ambushed by 3 wolves. You what? My mother shouted, glaring at me. Your father and I specifically asked you to do it, Austin. None of this would have happened if you had listened and did what was expected of you. I can't believe you. Maya whispered, disappointment etched deep in her voice. Which pack were the wolves from? James demanded, his stare deadly. My brother, just like I, was always ready for a fight when anything threatened our family. My gaze darkened. I didn't wait to find out. I killed them on the spot, and I would gladly do it again in a split second. My father shook his head at me, seeming distressed. I understand why you did, but you should have kept one alive to extract information from him. How would we know what the attack was about or if there is more to come? I stiffened at his words. There was no way I was letting something like this happen again. I would kill any and everything that threatened Lucy's safety. Lucy groaned in my arms, distracting me from the conversation at hand. We would have this discussion later. Right now her wounds need tending to. Lucy's POV. I awoke with an excruciating pain in my head. I touched my forehead and winced as the pain doubled. My eyes snapped open and I had to blink twice as they adjusted to the bright light in the room. Where was I? Lucy. My eyes followed the voice, and it was only then that I realized I was surrounded by a group of people. Austin's entire family were staring at me, their eyes filled with relief. I continued to scan the room and found what I was looking for. Austin. He stood in a corner, leaned up against the wall studying me, and that was when it hit me. All the events of what happened flashed before my eyes. The wolves, Adam, Austin. What were they? We need to talk. The Queen said. About what you saw today. What are you? I asked hoarsely, my voice sounding thick to my own ear. We're called werewolves. The king answered. We all are. He continued as his gaze swept over his family. Werewolves. I've heard that term before. that name was often associated with vampires. I've read countless stories about them, they always seemed to intrigue me, but never in a million years did I ever think that they actually existed. Before marrying Austin, I've never met anyone that seemed to possess the qualities of that of a werewolf, never even encountered anything close to what I saw today. I thought werewolves only shifted on the full moon. The king gave me a faint smile. So you have heard tales of us before. Our ancestors before us, the very first group of werewolves, could only shift on the full moon. However, as centuries passed, werewolves learned to better control when they shift. Our bodies adapted with each new generation that entered the world. Now it's completely normal to see a wolf shift whenever they see it fit. It's usually easier if they sense danger or need to protect someone or something. Oh. What else would you like to know about us? Maya asked gently. Her pretty brunette hair, which was usually tied in a messy bun, fell like curtains around her round face. Her dark expressive eyes, a warm pool blue, wandered over me now with a guarded look, almost like she wasn't sure how to talk to me anymore, unaware of how I would react. I studied her for a moment. How could someone this sweet and gentle be a werewolf? My gaze reluctantly went back to where Austin stood. He was looking at me with cautious eyes, almost as if he expected me to snap any minute now, his gaze never leaving mine. I trembled, feeling pinned by his open stare. Everything they said to me was too much for me to take in all at once. I didn't know how to respond with the new information thrown at me. Werewolves existed? And I was married to one so dangerous that he could possibly wipe out an entire village if he really wanted to. I instantly paled. How did any of this happen? I had so many questions, but yet I wasn't sure if I was ready for them to be answered. Can I have some time to myself? I asked. Please. I added when I saw each of their faces instantly set in disapproval. Maya's smooth forehead had creased at my words. Lucas and James stiffened while the king and queen gave each other guarded looks, and Austin, he seemed like the last thing on his mind right now was to leave me in a room by myself. After what seemed like an eternity, they eventually nodded their heads. We're right outside if you need anything from us. As soon as I was left alone, I opened the bedside window and quietly climbed out. I needed the fresh air more than I needed anything else right now. From the moment my feet touched the hard ground, my body shook, and as if I had no control of my feet whatsoever, they began to move on their own accord. I ran and ran, and ran. The woods were consumed by darkness. Not even the moonlight above helped, but yet somehow I could still see as clearly as one would see in the day, my feet moving like it were one with the forest, like it knew every inch of it, every narrow path, every knotted root. The cold air lashed at my pale skin as I continued to race through the woods with no apparent destination in mind. While the darkness pressed against me from all directions, something within me screamed to be set free. I felt something within me grow stronger the more I ran, almost like my body was spinning out of control and needed to be let loose. I didn't know how long I was running for, but I finally stopped and leaned back against a giant tree. My eyes remained closed as I tried to take in everything that happened today. I began to breathe in the cool air more rapidly as the images of the day kept flashing before my eyes. The jet black wolf mercilessly killing, the great grey wolf fighting for his life, the terrified cries of the brown ones, Austin standing before my eyes. I stood like that for a while until I heard someone clear their throat. My eyes snapped open, and right there in front of me stood the 5 gorgeous men from the Fire Cross pack. I gasped in horror. Holy crap! Not again! Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.